Welcome back to the Raising Our Vibration podcast, where we explore higher consciousness through spiritual practice. And today, Stephen and I are going to talk about fatigue and depletion and how to raise your vibration and boost your energy level. So in our working with students and clients, and especially a lot of the client sessions Stephen's been doing recently, there's a real prominent issue with fatigue, with being tired, being exhausted, feeling the effects of chronic stress. And, as we're guiding spiritual practice, as we're guiding these subtle energy meditation practices, it becomes really clear that it's so important to have sufficient energy to be able to fuel your attention, to be able to attend to practices. So this issue of exhaustion is really pertinent in our current cultural landscape. And so much so that I was looking at research in preparing for this podcast, and I see that in Sweden, they've actually defined an exhaustion disorder, which is related to chronic stress and burnout and so on. But it's particularly characterized by prolonged physical and emotional fatigue. And then it's accompanied by disturbed sleep, cognitive deficits, anxiety and depression, adverse health effects such as headaches, digestive issues, susceptibility to infection, high blood pressure, dizziness, bodily weakness, and then emotionally, psychologically, with emotional withdrawal, with non-engagement, feelings of shame and frustration for not being able to handle it all, right? There's such a cultural bias that we have for being able to be on top of it and handle everything and be able to live in this fast-paced, stress-filled world that we live in. And when people can't do that, they feel bad. It's natural. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to be able to keep up. But really, what our cultural paradigm is asking for is not healthy for us. And it definitely does not set us up to be able to have energy to fuel a spiritual practice and to be able to have the energy and attention to do a daily practice, which is absolutely necessary to transform our consciousness. So in this research, as they suggest, or they were cataloging all the things that seem to help people with this exhaustion disorder. So an extended period of relieved demands. So taking breaks, taking time off, or just adjusting a schedule to relieve the level of demands that we face. Learning to say no to things, and then balancing energy. We're going to talk more about that today, about subtle energy and balancing energy. Engaging in nurturing creative activities. So not always being focused on earning more money and paying the bills and taking care of tasks and so on, but taking time to do things like art and painting and music and gardening and those just nurturing, creative, being in nature, those nurturing activities. Gaining new skills and insights, and then being open to new possibilities. So again, that can feel really hard to do when you're feeling so much financial pressure, so much pressure to stay on top of all the tasks and responsibilities. But once you've reached that exhaustion phase, there's really no other option. You really need to reorient and rebalance and so on. So Stephen, I know you have some clients who are really in high pressure jobs and high pressure positions. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're seeing, what you're hearing from them, and then we could go on and talk about some really simple and basic things that we can all do to manage our energy and attention and find that energetic balance. So pass over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, and love and blessings to everybody in your day, wherever you are. So I'm actually going to start by diving into a beautiful quote by Kabir. I'm a great fan of Kabir and Rumi, and this is to do with the body. And Kabir says the following: be strong then, and enter into your own body. There you have a solid place for your feet. Think about it carefully. Don't go off elsewhere. Kabir says this: just throw away all thoughts of imaginary things and stand firm in that which you are. Now, I absolutely love that. That's one of my really favorite grounded quotes from Kabir, because it does speak to exactly what I see day after day in so many of the wonderful souls that come and visit me from around the planet. And that is, first of all, people come and they're not in their body. They're worried, they're stressed, they're depleted, they're tired. They've got all kinds of complicated situations to deal with, strategies they're trying to grapple with. And all of those collide. So if you're listening to this and you think about your life and you think, oh gosh, I've got health problems, I've got money problems, I've got relationship problems, I don't know what my purpose is, or I'm having trouble with my kids, whatever it happens to be. And then you put one or two or three of those together, you start to feel overwhelmed. And of course, the moment that you're in your head trying to deal with all these multiple situations all at once, you don't know where to turn, and you're left unable to sleep. So you get depleted primarily, first of all, in sleep. You go to sleep, you try to sleep, and you can't drop off to sleep like that. So if you're listening to this and that's you, this is a really good and powerful awareness to have, is, oh, I can't sleep. That's a first sign, really, of depletion. I need to actually bring my attention to that and do something about it and learn something about some sleep practices that would help me. And so, in fact, that's actually often the first question I ask people is, tell me about your sleep patterns. Give me an idea of a whole week. What's it like? Are you kind of catching up on the weekend for all the sleep you lost during the week because you've been so busy and so worried about whatever it happens to be? So sleep is a crucial one. And then there's the other very simple things, like, do you actually wake up in the morning and have time to sit down and eat? Or are you rushing through your breakfast in order to deal with some phone call, some meeting, so you start to also look at whether you're depleting your energy through not sleeping. Then secondly, are you depleting energy through not actually having any time to be with whatever you're doing throughout your day? So those simple check-ins actually can alert you also to the fact that, oh, I'm not actually even pausing during my day. I'm rushing from one thing to another thing, and also tending to prioritize whatever it is, your job, your business, the finances that you're trying to organize, whatever it happens to be. Those get prioritized over the body, over exactly what Kabir says, entering into your own body. How often do you do that? Do you enter into your own body at sleep? Or actually, are you still in your head and thinking and ruminating? Do you enter into your own body when you're eating your breakfast, as another simple example? Or is your mind on your phone and your messages and thinking about what you've got to get organized for your day? Another good example, because I always like the simple things, is when you have a shower or a bath, whatever you take in the morning, are you actually in the shower? Is your body in the shower, or are you just showering and your mind's still on what you've got to organize for your day? And I've got to have a quick shower because I've got to get in my car and drive to work. That kind of thing. When you get in the car, are you actually aware of being in the car and driving in the traffic? So these kinds of check-ins, such as when you get in your car, don't just put the key in and drive straight off. Actually take a conscious breath and notice where your awareness is. These simple little check-ins, the first moment you get up, the moment that you sit down for your breakfast, the moment you get in your car or on public transport, and the moment you get to sleep, are really the simplest of all check-ins, because they only require the duration of a breath to become aware of where, as Kabir says, where your body is, and have you actually entered into your own body, and is there a solid place for your feet during your day? Because if there's not, then you're going to be scattered, distracted, and actually depleted, because your energy is not in your body. There's no time to spend to nurture and feed your body with any kind of energy. So often the first recommendation after attending to sleep and attending to moments during the day is also, I recommend to all clients that they either get a rebounder or they go for a walk as a first thing in the morning before they do anything else, that they get that charge of dopamine, that they wake their brain up, but they actually have some time where, even if it's, it can be just 5 minutes. There's a lot of busy people out there, but if you, and Kevin and I, we teach those practices of bouncing on your heel, actually grounding for several minutes to actually get into the body. So that's the other part. You actually need to bring attention to the body. And if you're going to be, just as Kabir says, if you're going to have a solid place for your feet, you want to actually do practices that encourage a solid place for your feet. So that could be rebounding, walking, or as Kevin and I do, bouncing on your heels, even just for a few moments. Those few minutes every single day actually start to remind you what it's like to have a solid place for your feet where you're not in your head. So those are a few thoughts I have around that, Kevin, and it's such a rich topic, and it's often so very simple, because in the groups of people that I've taught over all these years from all different walks of life, you can be absolutely sure that in the practices we do, people will say yes, 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 but what actually becomes habitual and long-term is the real key. If you just sort of go, okay, I'll do this for a week, and oh, that felt good, and then you go back to your old patterns, that simply will not reinforce the solid place for your feet. But when you make this a genuine, deep, sacred part of your life, that becomes a real aha for most people. And they'll often contact me years after I've been working with them and say, oh, that simple thing you told me about, that rebounder, or that going for a walk, or just bouncing on my feet, that has made all the difference to my day. Now I have 3 minutes or 5 minutes in my busy schedule where I'm not in my head. And that might be the only 3 or 5 minutes that they're truly finding a solid place for their body. But and they'll always say, it is so incredibly nurturing and so revitalizing and energizing that they'd never skip it.
Yeah. So I hear a couple things there. One is this persistent theme that we have about alerting all of us about this living in our heads, right? Of living in the mind versus living in the space of the body, right? And I think for many people, they might get that conceptually, but again, it's an idea in the head. And so it's really essential, even just for a couple minutes, like you said, to have a practice of being in the body, where you're moving the body, where you're standing, where you're feeling your feet on the ground, where maybe you're bouncing on the balls of your feet, like you said, and you're really attuning to the body and sensing it. because I think a lot of times when people are, and we're trained to do this from the time we're little to, from the time we're in school, to disregard the body, right? We're told to sit in these uncomfortable chairs and be still and be quiet and forget the needs of your body, forget that you want to run around and play, and sit here and attend to mental information processing. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. And I think we just carry that habit into our work lives, and we start to even forget what it's like to be embodied, to feel the body, to feel this inner sensory system of the body, and to be grounded in the body. So that practice, whatever it is, that going for the walk, doing some yoga, doing some qigong, some tai chi, going for a run or a bike ride, being in nature, all of that embodied, and not putting headphones on while you're doing it, right? But really attending to the body while you're doing that. And that can be a real eye opener, because first, a lot of times when we're guiding people in this, they're like, oh, I don't feel in my body, right? It's that sensory awareness is atrophied because of lack of use. So it really is a practice. And the great thing is, like you said, it can start with as little as sitting, pausing, feeling the body, feeling your body seated here in the environment, and feeling the sensation of a deep breath. It can start as simple as that, maybe putting your hands on your lower abdomen and breathing in deeply, and really feeling that expansion from the abdomen upwards, and feeling that relaxation in a long exhale. And that can be the foundation of being in your body, learning to consciously activate your body's relaxation response, because it's this chronic stress, this stress which never stops, that leads to this exhaustion disorder. It's that we're not ever giving ourselves a break and pausing, breaking the cycle of doing, and tuning into the body, really feeling, oh, I'm exhausted. Like a lot of times in our meditation groups, right? People say, after they start going to sleep at the end, because they haven't been so relaxed in so long, and they just start feeling, oh, my body just wants to rest, right? And so that's where it begins, just giving ourselves more rest and learning what facilitates rest. So it's probably not being on our phones when we're lying in bed before sleep, right? It's probably not watching the news. It's what is it that enables you to get out of the mind and mental processing and thinking and planning, and to get in the body at the end of the day. So maybe, Stephen, you could talk a little bit about the preparing for sleep practices, just really simple ways to prepare for sleep, because that rest is so primary. And then if we practice that as we're going to sleep, that also leads to very simple practices during the day that are based on that we can return to again and again.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. And you've already alluded to one of those practices, and the most vital one, which is the breath itself. So I'll do a very short practice, just speaking to the power of how we can prepare for sleep. So one thing that I've just been doing is a retreat with Mingyur Rinpoche, and he's currently doing a retreat on subtle energy practices and subtle energy meditation. And he speaks about the incredible power of somatic mindfulness. And so that's what I'm going to talk to And he's doing this with a different focus. He's doing very energized breathing practices. So I'm not going to be doing that with you. I'm going to be doing
which are
exactly
not
the opposite.
conducive to sleep.
They are
Right.
not-
As you
I
can tell from last night, you didn't sleep.
I can tell. I can tell you. I did the retreat, and of course that left me. Wow, I'm wide awake, and there's no need for any sleep because I had so much energy pouring through my being. So yes, the really energized breathing practices are not something you want to do late at night. And I think that that also speaks to the subtleties of and the power of the breath itself. Just what you were talking to, that when you actually start to come into the body and start to become aware of the breath, you actually allow the body to guide you. So that's one of the big things I'd encourage everybody when you come to sleep is that you let the body actually guide the breath rather than let the mind guide the breath. Now, this might be a subtle distinction or a subtle difference, but allowing the attention to actually follow the body's lead is a different practice than developing mental attention using the body. Because what happens is that over time, our inner experience of what Mingyur Rinpoche called somatic mindfulness becomes really crucial. We start to understand how our breathing actually works, because if you think about it, often during our day, we don't give any time to conscious awareness of what your breath is actually doing. What is it like on the inhale? What is it like when you pause? What is it like on the exhale? And is your inhale longer than your exhale, or your exhale longer than the inhale? The very basis of what the Buddha taught, Anapanasati Sutra, is actually bringing awareness to what the breath is doing and how it's in the body. So that particular practices of awareness around the breath are really important. So I'm going to do a very gentle, very short practice, and then Kevin, you can really take us home in any way you'd like to from that point. This is just something that you can do late at night at any time, and it's a practice called surrendering to the breath. It's so simple that it is just actually allowing the somatic awareness itself to guide you home. And eventually you will find, like Kevin was saying, if you're depleted, then you'll actually bring an awareness to what's there, what's lacking or what's present, and you'll surrender to it. You won't be fighting it anymore. You won't be saying, hey, I've got to get up early in the morning, or all the other thoughts. You won't be saying, I've got to do this, I've got to. This is about exactly the opposite. This is about you actually surrendering to what's present and recognizing that you're tired and allowing the body to actually do what it needs to do so naturally, and that is to fall asleep. So I'll guide you very gently into this. It's very simple. So to begin with, all I want you to do is you're obviously going to be sleeping at this point. So you're going to be slowly, gently, actually lying on your bed. Now, if you're doing this in a practice, you're listening to me and you're driving a car, I would advise you to pull over, because this is a very gentle, deep, relaxed practice. And if you're sitting in a chair, that's fine too. But especially if you've decided to listen to us as you're going to sleep, this is a really gentle, beautiful practice. So as you're lying or sitting or pulled off on the side of the road, you can close your eyes very gently and just simply turn your attention to the breath. Just notice the wave-like quality of the breath, how the breath rises like the swell of the ocean and then falls like the dip between the swells. Very gradually, as you're falling asleep, explore the sensations that are unfolding as you breathe. Notice a fresh, alive feeling in your nostrils as you inhale. Notice the gentle warmth of the exhale. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your diaphragm. See if you can find a balance between paying attention and being relaxed. Letting go of tension with every exhale. You might find that quite naturally, the exhale becomes longer as you start to deeply relax and let go. At some point, after you've been lying there a while, you may fall asleep, or you may also notice that you've become distracted, that the busy mind has started up again. And that's okay. You might have forgotten you've given yourself this gentle task of focus on the breath. Your attention will wander, and you might become caught up in a train of thought. That's okay. Then there's a moment of noticing that you're distracted. And at that moment, don't make any effort to refocus on the breath. Instead, just allow the breath itself to draw you back in. It's kind of like a gentle turning inwards towards the breath. There you go. Let the natural sensations of the breath moving within your body, the feeling of freshness in your nostrils, the rise and fall of your diaphragm, the expansion of your heart center. Let that gentle, somatic awareness draw you back in like a magnet. Softly, gently, surrendering to the natural mindfulness of the body. Gently allowing the natural sensations of your breathing to bring you into deep relaxation and peace. Just like you're resting in the ocean, floating, sinking, resting deeply at peace. So very slowly, and this could be first thing in the morning, very slowly and gently open your eyes and just again turn your attention to your breath. Simply notice this beautiful wave-like quality of the peaceful, calm breath. How your breath rises like the swell of the ocean and then falls like the dip between the swells. You are the ocean of awareness, resting, allowing sensations to unfold naturally as you breathe. Noticing this fresh, alive feeling in your nostrils as you inhale, and noticing the gentle warmth of the exhale. As you go about your day, pause and bring a gentle attention to your breath. And notice the rise and fall of the breath from this oceanic awareness, from this open awareness, from this spacious awareness. Just a simple breath. And then resume your activity of the day. And if this is first thing in the morning, you can sit up in bed, swing your feet over the side of the bed, feel your feet on the ground, feel the contact of the earth with your body, feel the groundedness of your feet, and then again, turn your attention to the breath. Feel that same ground that you do in your feet in the breath itself. There's this gentle solidity, groundedness, and openness to the inhalation. And to the exhalation. As you go about your day, be in a sense of gratitude and awe of the breath, and the power of the breath to bring really deep awareness to exactly where your body is right that moment. So Kevin, I'll pass back to you now just to finish off, and thank you for the opportunity to just do that very gentle sleep practice.
Thank you, Stephen. That was wonderful. I feel deeply relaxed and energized at the same time. So I think the breath really is a key here, in that feeling the sensations of breathing get us into the body, and drawing that, naturally allowing the body to breathe as it wants to, as it needs, not trying to control it, just allowing the body to breathe as it wants to. We find that the body starts to breathe in a pattern that brings us into relaxation, and starts to breathe in a pattern that more fully oxygenates the body and gives us more energy. So just that sense of embodiment we get from feeling the sensations of breathing, really feeling the sensations. And then the sense of relaxation of allowing the breath to take its course, allowing the breath to come into nice, relaxed rhythm. And then as we are breathing deeply and relaxedly, naturally, without effort, we draw more energy in through oxygen, and we start to replenish our body. Just a simple practice like that, as you described, going to sleep and then waking up, and then just with short check-ins during the day, just any moment that maybe you set, like we talk about in our subtle energy meditation course, set checking gates, right? As you described some when you sit down for your breakfast or your morning tea, when you get in the car, when you're sitting at a red light, when you arrive at your office, or when you do the laundry, or when you're starting to make dinner. Or just set times during your day, or just anytime you notice that you're getting overwhelmed, just take these short breaks and tune into the body, tune into the breath, and allow the body and the breath to lead you into deeper relaxation and deeper energization through the breath. So thank you, Stephen, for that beautiful practice. Thank you all for listening, watching, and participating with us. And if you are feeling tired and depleted, just instituting a few minutes a day can start of this type of practice can start to turn that around. So these short practices, just a couple minutes at a time, start to build a momentum for something different and start to tune you into the body, and the body's natural intelligence and wisdom take over and start to lead you into more balance and into noticing how you can manage your energy, your attention, your schedule, all the demands you face with more mindfulness and intentionality and presence. So thank you again for being here with us. If you'd like more information on meditation and awareness practices like this, you can visit us at raisingourvibration.net, and we'd love to hear from you there. Until next time, bye for now.